Hello and welcome back. We will be in the book of Psalm once again, Psalm chapter 24. So you can open your Bible or you can follow along on the screen. Again, my name is Nathan House and I am with the Church of Christ in Houston, California. And if you could like or subscribe to this video, that would be appreciated. So back in Psalm 24, and we're going to notice a couple of things about this psalm that are very important. But as we go along and we're noticing some of these things from the psalm, we need to be asking ourselves, what does it matter? How do these observations from this psalm impact me? Why is it important that we discuss these things? Why is it important that the psalmist wrote these things? Ultimately, these things are written for us to think about, for us to consider as the book of Psalm begins in Psalm chapter 1. There's a blessing to those who meditate on the word of God. And so we need to be people that think about these things. Don't just read over them and dismiss them. Take some time, consider these things as you go through your day. So let's go ahead and first of all, let's kind of introduce the psalm a little bit. So you'll notice right at the beginning, it is called a Psalm of David. Specifically, we don't know exactly why David wrote this psalm, but there are some things that seem to give us some clues, some hints in the text itself. And so we'll talk about those in just a moment. But as you're reading this psalm, and again, remember, this is a song actually, right? As you're reading this song, it's actually going to be focusing on this act of coming together as worship. There's an act here that's happening in the psalm that we see being played out. And exactly what it is, again, exactly the background, we don't know for sure. But some common suggestions are that it was sung as the worshiper would come up to Jerusalem. And again, David did not build the temple. David, he prepared things for the temple. He prepared his son Solomon to build the temple. But so perhaps this song was prepared by David for the worshiper to come up to the tabernacle, later into the temple. And some have suggested that the worshipers, as they came to worship, climbing up that hill towards the temple, would be singing this song. And perhaps that's the case. Another suggestion, this is the one that I actually kind of lean towards. And again, not that it matters, but when David brought the ark, remember the ark was not always there. The ark was not always in Jerusalem. The ark had been relocated, if you will, right? We see in 2 Samuel chapter 6 that David goes and he gets the ark and he brings the ark to the tabernacle. He brings the ark to the city of Jerusalem. And so it seems to me that this might be a good historical place to put this, that as David is bringing the ark, again, the ark was so significant to the Jew, in the mind of the Jew. It was where God dwelt in their minds. Now, of course, they understood God was bigger than that, and God was more than just sitting there on the ark. But God, the terminology that is used to describe the ark, the cherubim where the wings would sit, would meet, is called the mercy seat, the place where God would dwell. So perhaps this is this idea here. God is coming up to the temple. They're bringing God in a sense up towards the tabernacle. And so again, it seems to fit to some degree this idea. And it's also kind of interesting as you look at it, it seems to be laid out that it has questions and answers almost, right? There's questions that are seen in this song, and then there's an answer. And so it's also been suggested that perhaps as they came, perhaps some of the Levitical choir would chant one part, another part would answer it as they came up to worship and as they came in there at this time, bringing perhaps the Ark of the Covenant into the tabernacle. Let's go ahead and look at this text briefly. And so let's go ahead and get into this. Psalm chapter 24, verse 1 and 2. Let's talk about this for a moment. Let's read it. The earth is the Lord's. And again, you'll notice the Lord is in all capitals, telling us that this is the Hebrew YHWH. We always call it Yahweh. The truth is that we don't know how you pronounce it, but this is the name of the Lord, whatever that is exactly. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. So he makes a statement. The psalmist David makes a statement here. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Everything in it belongs to God. So the question might be asked, well, why? Why is it that the earth is the Lord's? Why is it the world is the Lord's and those who dwell in it? Why? Two reasons are given. Because he has founded it upon the seas and he has established it upon the rivers. So the psalmist points to God as being over the world, over the earth, over these things. Well, why is it? Why is he, to use that word sovereign? Why is he sovereign over these things? Because he is the creator of these things. He founded them. He established them. Why is he the one who is over these things? Why is he in charge? Why is he sovereign? The psalmist says, because he, and again, he introduces the reasoning here with the word for, right? Because he founded these things, he established these things. And so as we come back here to our slide, Yahweh is over all the earth, right? Why? Because he founded it, he established it, because he is the creator. And so the worshiper coming to the temple was to be giving thought, or to the tabernacle, depending on what historical time frame it is. The worshiper, as he would come to the tabernacle, as he would come to the temple, was to give thought about who Yahweh is. And we need to do the same thing today. When we come to worship God, when we come to, on our Sunday time, when we come together to worship, and by the way, we need to be people that come together for worship. Why is it important that you come to worship? Because worship, yes, worship is about your relationship with God, absolutely. We talk about it being a vertical relationship, right? But worship is also horizontal. We impact each other in our worship. Over and over in Paul's writings in the New Testament, we see this idea of worship is part of building one another up. That's part of the purpose of worship, to encourage one another, to build one another up. So worship is bigger than you. It's not all about you in worship. It is obviously about God, but it is also about one another. So let's not be people that neglect worship, as the Hebrew writer would say. Anyways, as we get back to this, the worshiper, as he comes to the temple, and as we come to services, should be giving thought to who God is, to who the Lord is. Who is this Lord? Who is this God? Why is he worthy of my worship? Why is he worthy of my praise? And by the way, Revelation chapter 5 introduces reasons why Jesus Christ is worthy of worship. Revelation chapter 4, reasons why God the Father is worthy of worship. So you should go read Revelation 4 and 5 again and notice those as well. So here we see verses 1 and 2 that we see that the worship of the Creator, the worship begins here as the Creator, as we come together to gather him, because he is the Creator of all things. Let's pick up here and let's read the middle part of this psalm. Let's read verses 3 through 6. So it asks a question about, it begins with why you should come to worship, or, why is the Lord worthy of worship, perhaps? And now it asks the question, or it deals with who should come to worship, and what benefit is there, if you will. Again, to return to what we talked about a minute ago, there is a benefit to worshiping God, isn't there? So who should come? What benefit is there for the worshiper? Look at verses 3 through 6. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And again, the city of Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, was up on a hill. So who should go up there? Who should stand in his holy place? So the question is asked in two different ways. Who should come and worship God? And the answer here, he who has clean hands and a pure heart. So he focuses, perhaps this is to be viewed, clean hands, hands are something you'd use to work. Perhaps this is referencing then the righteous works we do, the righteous acts we do. So he who has clean hands, who has done righteous things, good things, righteous actions, he who has a pure heart. So the inward part of a man, one who comes to worship God, should have actions and deeds that are righteous. He should have a heart that's pure, who does not lift up his soul to what is false. There's been a couple of thoughts as to what this means. Perhaps this is dealing with just the truthfulness of the individual, that the person is not deceitful. Perhaps that is the case. Maybe this is an allusion to worship of idols. Whatever the case, he who does not lift up his soul to what is false, and who does not swear deceitfully. So this is who should come to worship God. What does the worshiper gain from this? He says he will receive blessings from the Lord. When we worship God, as Jesus would say, right, in the Gospel of John, when you worship God in spirit and in truth, there is absolutely blessings to doing that. We should leave a worship service and we should be encouraged and uplifted. And part of the problem is today, why don't we leave worship encouraged and lifted up? Part of the problem is because we come to worship with the wrong mindset. We come to worship with the mindset of, what can I get out of it? Instead of coming to the worship with this, what can I give to the worship service? What can I give to the worship service? I can give the worship my attention. I can lay aside, the phones, the electronic devices. I don't mean to, if you use your phone as a Bible, whatever. But if you don't use your phone as a Bible, don't bring your phone to church. It's a distraction. I have over and over seen people texting on their phone, looking at sports events on their phone, whatever. Folks, leave your phone at home. Bring to God worship that is without distraction. Bring to God worship that is honoring Him. When we give proper place to worship, when we stop saying, what can I get out of worship? And we start asking, what can I bring to worship? It should change our worship. And when we bring ourselves to worship, to offer God our time, our heart, to offer to God that gift that we bring, when we come to build up and encourage one another, when I sing a song and I'm doing so to glorify God and to edify my brother and sister, I'm bringing something great to worship. And he says he will receive, the one who does these things, he will receive blessings from the Lord, righteousness from the God of his salvation. Such is the generation of those who seek him, who seek the face of the God of Jacob. Let's be people that seek God in worship. Come to God with the right mindset when we come to worship. And so here this ancient psalm is calling the people who's coming to the hill to worship God. What benefit do you get? And then this little section here, the word Selah, most scholars believe this is meant to have the psalmist pause, to think, to consider. And then the psalm continues. And again, this is where we see that antiphonal, right? The question and answer portion of the song. So lift up your heads, O gates. Be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. And so perhaps going to that image of David bringing in the ark, they would maybe sing this as they're coming to the tabernacle. Lift up the gates. Pick up the sides of that tabernacle. Open those gates, right? That the King of glory may come in. So here is the question. Who is the King of glory? One part of the choir might chant, to which the other part of the choir would answer, who is the King of glory? They would answer, the Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. Who is the King of glory? Notice again, who is this King of glory? Again, here's the name, Yahweh, strong and mighty. The Lord strong and mighty in battle. And again, this section here, verse 7, is now repeated, right? Lift up your heads, O gates, lift them up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. And once again, a question is introduced. Same question, who is the King of glory? So the question again is sung by one portion of the Levitical choir. Who is this King of glory? And once again, the answer, the Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. And again, this pause, Selah. We see this, we did a video on the Psalms a few weeks ago about the Lord being a warrior, the warrior king, the warrior Lord, the warrior God. This is seen here. The Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. The phrase the Lord of hosts is a reference to his military host. Who is this King of glory? He is the Lord strong and mighty. So again, who can come into the presence? We talked about that, verses 3 through 6. What reward is there for coming into his presence? Verses 7 through 10. Who is the King of glory? The one who is strong and mighty, the one who is mighty in battle, the Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. As we stop for a second and we consider this psalm, let me back up. How does who God is impact us? How does it impact us that God is the one who is strong and mighty, that God is the one who is the King of glory, the one who is mighty in battle? How does it impact us that he is the commander, the captain of the angelic hosts of heaven? How does it impact us that the God we worship, this is him? He is the sovereign God. He is the creator God. He is the King of glory. Shouldn't it comfort us as we consider these things? Shouldn't it help us in times of difficulties? Shouldn't it help to open our eyes to worship, why he is worthy of worship? As we go through this week, let me leave to you this question, this thought for us. What do we bring when we come to worship God? What is the purpose? Do we come to worship our God asking, what can I get out of it? Or do we come to worship asking, what can I give to this worship service today? I can give my attention. I can give my songs of praise. I can give the attention to the minister as he's preaching. I can pull out a notepad and I can take notes. Why is that so important? Well, first of all, you'll get more out of it. But you know what else? You will impact those around you who will see you participating, and you will encourage them. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to encourage you this week as we consider who our God is and why he is worthy of worship. Thank you for your attention. God bless.